Perfect. I think we can get started without further ado. So, my name is Sylvia. I'm the CEO and the co-founder of Mira. So maybe most of you already know Mira is the fertility tracker. So we track your actual fertility hormone concentration. So basically, we give you your LH, your estrogen hormone numbers, just like how you're doing that in the blood work in the lab. So this is one of our webinar in the so conducting this since the COVID outbreak, and we provide this completely free for everyone. Our goal is to trying to help you better and answer your questions during this special time. And so today's topic is about how to reduce stress during TTC, because we know that the TTC journey is really pretty hard. It's harder than we thought. So we also know that the stress is associated with your fertility level. So we're so glad today we have Kat Stevens, and Kat is the fertility coach and also the founder of Fertility Rewire. So maybe Kat, you can introduce yourself.
Hi, yeah, thanks Sylvia, and thanks for inviting me on. So yeah, I'm Kat Stevens. I've got some slides to take you through, just to keep us on track. You'll see these next photos, I do actually have shorter hair rather than that image you had earlier. Oh, these are your slides, Sylvia, aren't they?
Sure, yeah, no worries.
Sorry,
so
I'll go back. No, that's fine. Sorry. Yeah, I'm Kat Stevens, fertility coach. I'm based in the UK, but I have clients globally, some using Mira, some tracking ovulation in other ways, and I work on a physical, psychological, and an emotional level. So this subject is very close to my heart.
Great. So okay, so seems like we have a little bit audio issue here. Please let us know if you guys can hear us good. If not, maybe we can, I don't know, get some microphones or so on. Okay, great. So thanks, Kat, for your introduction. And before we start, I'd like to briefly introduce Mira. So as I said, Mira is the only comprehensive women's health tracker on the market. So we track your numeric hormone concentration. So that means you not only get a positive, negative, or 2 lines versus 1 line. We know that we guess about those a lot. And every woman is different, every cycle is different. So sometimes it's really hard. So Mira tells you your actual fertility hormone number. So like how much hormone you have in your urine today. And also Mira measures multiple hormones all at the same time. So currently we measure the LH and estrogen. So that will give you your entire full fertile window and versus the entire non-fertile window. So that will really help you to, regardless you're trying to conceive or trying to avoid pregnancy. And we also have product in our pipeline, which is to track progesterone. So that's really helpful to confirm ovulation if you have PCOS, or confirm ovulation if you're trying to avoid pregnancy. At the same time, we're developing HCG. So that is a really exciting one, because that will tell you like if you have sign for miscarriage and how's your fetus growing. We know if we finally got pregnant, we definitely don't want to lose a baby. So anyway, all this happened with the same Mira analyzer and the disposable test ones, and this data will be transferred to the Mira app. So you will see what does your data mean, and the app will plot your data for long term. You can compare with your previous cycle data, so you know if you're making progress, you're getting better with PCOS, and most importantly, the smart algorithm will help you to really understand what is the action to do, like what is the best time to have sex, to get pregnant, or avoiding pregnancy. So today we have a really special giveaway that's really exciting. So we're gonna have a chance to, in this webinar, one of the audience in our webinar, have a chance to win a 30% off gift card for any Mira products at the end of this session. So make sure you stay at the end, and we will announce at the end of the webinar. So just a little bit disclaimer, Mira is really trying to help you with your fertility, but Mira cannot replace any medical advice from your doctor. If you have concerns, you need medical information, please always seek for help from your physicians. Okay, before we start, I have two small things. So one thing is like if you have questions during our presentation, and please feel free to type in chat, and I will collect them. And the most popular question or the most frequently asked question will be answered at the end of the webinar. So that's one thing. And the second thing is like we like to know a little bit more about you, so our conversation can be more towards you to really help you with your needs. So I'm gonna launch two questions on the poll if you can help me to answer, and we really appreciate that. Okay, so you should see the first question on the screen already. Five more seconds for this one. Okay, great. So the answer, we have 69% of the audience are actively trying to get pregnant, and another 25% experiencing difficulty of trying to get conceive. So you guys are not alone. Okay, so the second question should be on the screen right now. Okay, thanks so much for the answer. We have 56% of the audience here use Mira, another 25% use other at-home test kit. Great. So thanks for letting us know a little bit more about you. So now I'm gonna hand over to Kat. So Kat has a awesome presentation for us to discuss about how stress will affect our fertility.
Okay, thanks, Sylvia. That's great. And thanks for your, I was watching that so fascinated as the numbers were going up. I expected to hear some music or something at the time. So I'm Kat. I introduced myself at the beginning, but if any of you missed that, I'm based in Nottingham in the UK, but I work with people globally online. I used to be a nurse, and this is really, really key because I'm aware of the fertility medical model. It was something I worked in for a long time. I'm aware of how excellent it is, but I'm equally aware of its limitations as well, especially when we start to uncover emotional aspects of trying to conceive. I've got an MSc in ergonomics. Now, that's looking at people within systems, and the reason that's important, two levels. The MSc shows that I am absolutely always with science behind what I do. And as an ergonomist, what you do is you constantly asking questions. You're asking why. You're trying to get to the root of a problem, and you're gathering data and you're gathering more information. And what's key is that the solutions you then recommend have to be solutions that are easy or acceptable for humans to put in place. So behavioral change is a really, really key issue. And this comes up in stress hugely, which I will expand on. So I received a health diagnosis in 2005. I was diagnosed with MS, and my MS is now benign, I would just like to say, which is amazing, but there's no known cause and no known cure. And you can see some similarities there when you start to look at fertility, that often things are unknown, that we don't know, and one solution doesn't fix everything. And I became a health detective, basically, and I looked every which way into this. And I applied the same principles when I looked at getting pregnant myself. I had a miscarriage at 37. And then I started to apply some key principles that I applied for my health diagnosis. And I conceived my babies at 38 and 39. And then I started to work as a fertility therapist. And I work with the physical, the psychological, and the emotional. And one of the big areas I look at is the medical model failings. And those of you who are trying to conceive, if you're having to wait the magic time frame for tests, you might be aware of this, that one solution doesn't fit all. So I'm a fertility coach and I'm also a podcast host. So my podcast is Fertility Rewire. If you wanted to check that out, hopefully there'll be some information to help you there. So stress. Okay. Stress is defined as situations or events that put pressure on us. And the reaction to being placed under this pressure is what we generally look at as stress. But it's not the same for everybody. Not everybody reacts in the same way. Not everybody is stressed by the same things. And that's really, really important. Not all stress is bad. So exercise puts your body under stress. It gives you motivation. It gives you drive. It gives you a lack of boredom. You know, boredom in itself can induce stress. And also it can be excitement. So I often say to my children when they say they're nervous, no, you're excited. It feels exactly the same to be excited or nervous. This necessarily doesn't come to play with fertility, but it's really, really important to understand the mechanics of stress. When you're trying to conceive, so you will have stress, general stress that you perhaps know you need to reduce. You will have stress that you know perhaps isn't good for your fertility journey. You're perhaps being told to just relax. I do that because I think that's such a term not to give to someone who is under stress while trying to conceive. You might have been stressed at the start, but then you might have more stress, which is your fertility stress. So it's your stress. Your fertility stress is very specific. It's the stress of when are you ovulating? Will you ovulate? And something I see a lot and that isn't tested, and I know this is something we can look at with Mira, is the strength of your ovulation, the accuracy of your ovulation prediction and what that means. And then you've got the stress about the timing of when you're going to try to conceive and whether that time is right for you both as a couple and how things change there, because baby sex isn't the same as the relationship that you potentially had before. So this can add to further stress. And this is stress on both parts, both female and the male. Both are under this stress. And if you're in a same-sex relationship and you're looking to conceive via other methods, this is still a situation. Both partners are under stress and physical effects can happen as a result. But what I find with a lot of people, it's the stress about the stress. So you have that, oh, I'm worrying again, and I'm not meant to worry. And I know that worrying isn't helpful and I shouldn't be worrying, but I'm worrying. So if in part we could just remove or reduce the stress about the stress, that can have a huge impact. So I said I liked science. In order for a species to survive, any species, 3 things have to be in place. There has to be safety, first and foremost. And the prevalence is that you must maintain your life. You must stay alive. After that is sustenance, and after that is procreation. So it's survival of the individual, and then it's survival of a species. But here's the thing. In modern health, we're just looking at procreation. We're looking at getting the egg and the sperm together. We're looking at, in terms of medical testing, if you ovulate. We're not necessarily looking at when, and that's where, home testing greatly comes into play as a benefit. We're looking at if there are sufficient sperm. And the sufficient sperm, when we look at those World Health Organization numbers, they've come down hugely over the years as to what we accept as the norm. So we focus on the procreation part of it and often where that stress is, but the stress then impacts the safety. So your body is so incredibly clever. Its design is amazing. The autonomic nervous system, basically, it's a system controlled by your hypothalamus in your brain, and you have 2 states. You have that you are in fight or flight if you were to see a tiger, or you're in rest and digest. You're not in a little bit of one and a little bit of the other. It's finite, it's cut off. You're in one or the other. You are in rest and digest. But when danger is in place, when there is a tiger in front of you or a marauding neighboring tribe, fight or flight instinctively comes into play. It's not a choice. It instinctively comes into play in a response to fear. Now, when you've got a tiger in front of you, you want that in place. It's not the time to stop and think. And what happens when you're in fight or flight is it's as though there's a control room in your brain. And it's basically saying, right, we're in danger. We're putting everything into this and we're shutting down this. We're diverting hormones and we're shutting things down. And this can affect fertility. It can affect ovulation, can affect your luteinizing hormone. If you're suddenly faced with a tiger and you're perhaps, heading towards ovulation, that can stop or slow down. Now, what is interesting is it can then pick up when the tiger goes, but what if that tiger stays around for a while? As your cortisol rises, which is a stress hormone, your progesterone reduces. Testosterone also reduces. So your libido can be affected, and in males, this can affect sperm production. But what is really, really key is with the progesterone, that even if you were to ovulate, then your progesterone is what is going to strengthen your lining and prepare it for implantation. And it is what is going to support your baby when you get pregnant. And it supports it until the placenta is formed. The placenta doesn't form immediately. And this is one of the most common reasons for early miscarriage. And of all the clients that I'm seeing, this is one of the most common things that I'm seeing. If the progesterone is low, then estrogen and progesterone, they're going in this cycle like this in a month, and they buffer up against each other. And if the progesterone is low, the estrogen is dominant, and that affects your periods. It can cause heavy periods and painful periods, and make conditions like PCOS and endometriosis can be heightened as well. So it's really, really key. So what tigers have you got? What are your stressors? I'd like you to stop and think about this while I'm talking. What are the things that are causing you stress? What are the recurring thoughts that you're having? What are your worries and anxieties? What is that you hear? This will never happen. This is another month. Time is running out. And if you are, thinking of your age, then time can be a factor. But also, when we start planning for a baby, there's not many of us that approach that let's just give it a few years and see how it goes. It's not always like that. What you've got going on in your head, you've already planned that if you get pregnant this month, you know when your baby's going to be born. You know the season your baby's going to be born in. You know how old they will be when certain things happen. So these thoughts and these worries, if they're creating that negative response in your body, can cause a huge stress. So what are the worries? What are the recurring thoughts and anxieties that you are thinking? These are your modern day tigers. These are your stresses. They might be stress. There might be fertility stress. It might be stress about the stress. But what are your worries and anxieties? And just take some time, perhaps later on, and think about that. The other thing is your brain is so incredible that actually you're so powerful with your imagination that you can create a physical response. If you remember a time that you were really sad, you think back to a sad memory, you may cry. If you think about a lemon and you think about how that lemon feels, how it smells, if you imagine that you're tasting that lemon, your body will respond as though it's actually happening. And there's lots of research and studies on you can think you are exercising a muscle and the strength in that muscle does increase. Not as much as doing lifts, but it does increase. So your brain is so incredible. So when you're future tripping and you're imagining this future that's stressful and not the future you're planned, that's creating your tigers as well. So what do you do in the face of a tiger? Well, as I said, it's instinctive. Your body will pump blood to your arms and your legs, and it will take blood away from other areas. It will reduce metabolism, which will increase weight gain. It will affect your sleep. It will take hormones, move hormones to make cortisol. We can't be using the progesterone and the testosterone are affected. This is really, really key. And then When the tiger is gone, so imagine there was a tiger and now the tiger is gone. What do? Maybe you've not met a tiger, maybe that's a silly question, but imagine that something really has happened, and then when everything is safe, what do? You make a long, slow out breath. If you stepped into a car park or something, and a car just whizzed past close and you went, when it's gone, when it's over, you go, that sigh, that was close. You are now safe. And what this does, so clever, is it switches your brain from fight or flight to rest and digest. It signals the parasympathetic nervous system, which is the calm, the rest and digest, the normal state, to come into play. And when you are stressed, everything is here. Everything is heightened in your chest. So I'm going to invite you to take now with me a long, slow out breath. I don't want you to take an in-breath first. I don't want you to bring it in and prepare. I want you, if you need to take a little breath, do it, but then just take a long, slow, purposeful out breath. And then just replenish that air. And what you're doing is you're bringing everything down. So this is something I teach in a program called Tiger Taming. And the first thing we do is this recovery breath. Okay, so think of what your tigers are. As I said before, name them. What thoughts, what recurring thoughts, the worries and anxieties that I mentioned, what are coming up for you? And get some distance between them. So write those down. Bring those to mind. Do a recovery breath and say to yourself, I'm having the thought that, and then say your worry. Because I'm never going to get pregnant is here, and it's the stress. I'm having the thought that I'm never going to get pregnant takes its power away and it moves it along, and then we can build further on those steps to make that distance greater as well. So are your tigers real or imagined? Are they thoughts or are they facts? And using something like Mira can actually bring some of those anxieties down. When am I ovulating? Is this right? You know, you pee on the OPKs, the disposable sticks that you buy, and you wait for your happy face or whatever, but you're not getting, and I see this in lots of my clients, that it's the strength of the ovulation we're looking for. And also it's exactly when you are ovulating that is key. So is it real or is it imagined? And how many times are you exposed to the what if tiger? What if this happens? What if this doesn't happen? So if you don't journal or you don't jot things down, I would encourage you to do so, and then start with that recovery breath and start to get some distance. Now, some of these thoughts and worries come from beliefs, come from limiting beliefs, come from past experiences, can be through issues of the need for control and certainty. But often your specific tigers, as I said earlier, are your ovulation, your timing, and your scheduling of trying to conceive, which creates stress in itself. The waiting, the what if, unexplained fertility. And actually, don't be fooled by a diagnosis that might affect fertility, like endometriosis and PCOS, because we can put all of our eggs, excuse the pun, into one basket there and think that that is the only reason that's stopping us from getting pregnant, when it might be something else as well. The sustenance, the safety, they're huge issues that can affect this. Other things that might trigger you and might affect you are other people. This is a private thing. It might not be something you're discussing with other people. And people may ask you questions. Oh, when are you going to start a family? And that's hugely stressful. It can be very lonely. You know, you almost want to talk to someone, but you haven't aired it, so you can't talk to somebody. And you have so many questions that you have, but questions from other people. And then you've got pregnancy announcements, which is so hard now, increasingly made on social media, that can trigger you hugely, and that can be a huge tiger in itself. You may have had hope when you saw announcements before, and now you've moved into a sense of unfairness. And then you feel jealous, perhaps, and then you feel guilty about the fact that you feel jealous because this is your friend, and of course you're happy with them. So you can see how all these emotions, it's not just one, it's not just a case of reducing stress, it's specifically naming your tiger and dealing with that tiger. You may have been told to just relax, but you can't. It's the most unhelpful advice. You can't not think about it. You can't be positive, and you can't stop trying, because if you stop trying, you can't get pregnant. So I never really understand that particular piece of advice. And you can't switch off. You can't just forget about it. And even if you say to yourself, well, we're just going to take some time off from trying, it's very, very, very hard to do that. So these are very important factors to approach. So yes, you can do relaxation, but if you want to go to a deeper level, which will serve you for other stresses in life, then it's important that we name the emotions, we name the worries, and then we start to get that distance. Do you need certainty? Are you searching for answers? Is control an issue? This is a huge issue, and the big area I work with my clients, and I'm a hypnotherapist as well, and so we do lots of visualization work about control, and actually where did those control issues come from? Perhaps they're things that have always been there, or is it just that you're not in control of this? And then we crave and we search for the explanation, and when we become fertility detectives, we can find an explanation, because everything has an explanation. But if the right tests aren't being done, the right things aren't being looked at, that is a key area of stress, that craving, that need for answers and certainty. So the Fertility Rewire method that I've developed, as I said earlier, looks at the physical, the psychological, and the emotional. So yes, this is part of it. Yes, it affects the physical. Yes, the psychological affects the emotional, and the emotional feeds back to the psychological. You can't really separate them. They're all the factors that are at play when you're trying to conceive. A little bit of information here. You can find me if you want any more information. We're going to look at questions in the chat, but obviously can't answer them all. So if you've got any specific questions specifically about what I'm asking, more the Mira questions, obviously Sylvia can answer that, then you can find me at fertilityrewire.com, at the Fertility Rewire podcast. If you come to the website and join my mailing list, then you will find out about offers and programs that are coming up. There's a group coaching program coming up and a digital course coming soon. I also work, mainly I've been working one-to-one, and I do offer a free call, so you can just drop, you can just drop me a line. You can call, you can book a call, and we can see, from my opinion, where you're at now, and I can give you a steer, or we can talk about if working together is an issue. Okay, that's me. Thank you. I was very aware of the time. I feel I've flown through that, but hopefully that's been interesting and made sense.
Thank you so much, Kat. I think that was the awesome presentation. I took some deep breaths while you were talking, and I felt it different already. So I think it was hopefully that was helpful to our audience as well. So before we go to the questions, I have a couple of slides to share more about Mira, because you guys may have some question about it. I saw that in the chat. So as we said earlier, Mira is the one-stop solution that help women to understand your health. So Mira has achieved 99% of accuracy in clinical study to identify your hormone concentrations. So we test multiple hormones, not only LH, like most of the OPK, ovulation prediction kits, but we also test estrogen, and we will be testing progesterone, FSH, and HCG down the road. So here is the chart for your hormone. So why do we need to test our hormone if we're trying to get pregnant or trying to understand our cycle? Because our entire cycle has been controlled by the hormone fluctuations. So you can see that when ovulation happens, usually that's around the middle of the cycle, but it's not always, right? So because every woman is different. But the LH hormone, which is luteinizing hormone, always goes up right before the ovulation happens, and doesn't this is a really good indicator for you to find when ovulation is about to happen. And there's another good news, which is estrogen. So estrogen will go up about few days, like 3 to 4 days before ovulation happens. So that will give you advanced notice about, okay, now you enter into the fertile window. And the reason being that the sperm can live inside woman's body if the mucus quality is good for about like 4 days or so on. So you would basically, we can get the sperm to wait there until the Unfortunately, once the egg has been released, there's only 24 hours of lifespan maximum. So basically, that means if you want to try to get conceived, you want to capture the time before ovulation happens, but not after, because you have really minimal time left after the ovulation happens. And then we have a few other hormones, very interesting. So one is the progesterone hormone, which is a purple solid line here. So when you look at this hormone, it increases after our ovulation happens. So for example, you have PCOS, and sometimes our body makes multiple tries in the cycle to try to ovulate, but you don't know which one will become successful, right? So you often people want to test about progesterone to understand, okay, my ovulation actually happened. And also, as we said earlier, if our egg has been released, it only lives up to 24 hours. So that means if you're trying to avoid the pregnancy, this is the best time. After ovulation happens, is the best time for you to have sex, because that's really safe. There's minimal chance to get pregnant. So that's another hormone. That's important to women. But overall, you see this hormone chart. You see our ovulation and our period, even a lot of symptoms like hormone imbalances, like even menopause, they're all controlled by all these hormones together, right? So we not only look at one hormone, because your high LH could be 9, another person's high LH could be 29. So it's very different. However, you look at the ratios between them, and you also look at the pattern of change over time. So okay, maybe your cycle length, your cycle, your hormone pattern. So those are very important, and those hormones all working together. So some of them actually one trigger another to be released. So all these hormones working together like a symphony to control how your body functions, and you will see them as, oh, my mucus texture got changed, I'm ovulating today, oh, my period is here, I have cramps this month, maybe even smooth vein, like some acne growing on the face, like oily skin. All this can be potentially controlled by that. So truly, to understand your fertility, or to understand what's going on, or how can we really do better to get ourselves get pregnant, we need to get a deeper understanding about our body, which are controlled by these hormone levels. So here is a little bit clinical data. So as we said earlier, the LH hormone, we did some, and estrogen hormone, we did some clinical study versus the laboratory instrument, which is Abbott I2000. So that's a golden standard used in the lab to really, draw the blood when you're going there to test about your, serum hormones. And we see a very strong correlation. So that means we are very accurate compared with the laboratory testing. Great. So I hope that was a little bit tip to understand your hormone better, and then also understand how Mira can help you. So now I think it's a time to go into some questions. So let me see. Okay, so I marked some questions during our conversation. So maybe I can answer some questions for the, about the Mira first. So we got a question saying that the minimal level for LH Okay, so someone is asking about my minimal LH. What's the minimal LH level that will trigger the ovulation? My highest was 9, but I spotted the whole time from the day, from the peak day until now. So basically, there's really no higher number there. So the answer for that is actually pretty normal. So as we said earlier, everyone has a difference in the in your hormone level. So your high could be other people's low. So the most important thing is that you track for long term. You find out the pattern. You compare with your past cycle or so on. So you will understand where is your hormone threshold cut off. But basically, to put it simple, the answer is yes. If your hormone equal to 9, LH hormone equal to 9, there's a possibility, yes, you will be ovulating. So I saw another question about the Mira, which is asking about the HCG hormone and also maybe progesterone hormone, as we said earlier, right? So currently, Mira tests the LH and estrogen. However, we have the progesterone and the HCG hormone in our product pipeline. So you can expect them next year. So which is great news. It's not going to be too soon because now we're end of this year. So I hope that was helpful to you guys. And then let me see. So we have few questions for Kat. So we saw a lot of users like Molly was asking this and Allison was asking this too. So they were interested in about the men's fertility level. So they're like, the husband is going through a lot of stress too. How does this affect the sperm health or sperm quality? And maybe some of the husband has low T, so the hormone level is pretty low as well. So Kat, do you have any suggestions for them?
Yeah, absolutely. And this is so overlooked. I have a couple of episodes on my podcast about this, and one of them in particular, we talk about DNA fragmentation. And DNA fragmentation is not tested routinely, and it's caused by high levels of it can be chemical exposure, but it can also be caused by high levels of oxidative stress. So that is the effect in the body after stress. And what's really key is to get to change some lifestyle factors potentially, but also to look at reducing stress and to support the body with antioxidants. And if you do want to get in touch, so on my website there's a link to book a free call. So we would do that, and it's over Zoom, and I can share with you some supplement advice that I give to all male partners, because this is so important and so overlooked. And it's something I'm incredibly passionate about, because you could have PCOS, you could have endometriosis, you could have regular strong ovulation, but a third of all fertility issues are female related, a third are male related, and a third are a combination of the two. And it's hugely overlooked. It's more than numbers. So yes, stress, get them to sort out their tigers as well.
Mm-hmm. Great. Thanks for so much. And there's a question for Kat. A lot of people were asking about losing weight. So the doctor wasn't really helpful and says, oh, you have unexplained infertility and you just need to lose weight. So we tend to blame on our weight for a lot of things. But if we have an audience, she's experiencing this, do you have any suggestions for her?
This is huge. I'm going to try and do something really quickly on this. So obviously, for parameters of, in order to provide fertility treatment, there has to be parameters. And within the parameters, they have the BMI. And yes, we know people who are heavier than you, have children, and it's not been an issue, but it might be a factor. But the issue is there an issue with losing weight? And is it that there's an emotional reaction? And and I see this with PCOS a lot, that they're told straight away, it's your weight. And also it might be that weight has been an issue. And again, you're feeling quite bullied by the medical profession in this. And this can really spark some key emotional factors and issues in you. So weight might be an issue. You can improve your chances potentially if you lose weight. But if you're feeling the pressure and the emotion of that, then that can be having an impact. And if your stress levels are high, it's very hard to lose weight, because when your body thinks that you're in danger, it's going to keep fat. It's going to keep fat because it doesn't know when you're next going to eat, because there are tigers everywhere. So there are huge emotional issues with that. And I would really start to jot down, what are these thoughts? What are the worries? What are you hearing from the medical profession? And just start to check in. Here's a trick, just very quickly. Is there a part of you that wants to lose weight and a part of you that's telling you you don't want to lose weight? And it's accessing that part that is key, because that is possibly wounded emotionally. That probably doesn't answer it completely, but it's just some things to think about, I hope, there.
Great, thanks so much. And another question about egg quality. So people are worried about stress will affect egg quality adversely, especially when her ovarian reserve is already low, maybe, or she's like, older than 35 years old. So could that happen?
Yeah, so egg quality is a real big thing. So yes, you are born with your eggs, and in fact your eggs are in your mum when she was pregnant with you, so that's really spooky. And you are from an egg that was in your grandma when your mum, anyway, that gets very confusing. So this fascinates me hugely. So egg quality, so theoretically there are some doctors that say there is nothing you can do about egg quality because they're already there, but they go through a 90-day maturation process. They mature, and in that maturing phase, yes, there are things that we can do for egg quality. Again, we're very similar to DNA fragmentation in men. Absolutely, stress, vitamin D is hugely key. Higher levels of vitamin D have been found in the fluid around well stimulated good follicles through IVF treatment, so that's very, very key. But also with regard to your eggs, it's so important to reduce stress, absolutely, but one of the biggest stress is the worry that you have a low ovarian reserve. Very quickly, I worked with a couple who were told that their only chance of getting pregnant was through donor eggs, and they got pregnant after 3 months of trying naturally. They weren't good candidates for IVF because the egg reserve was low. You need 1 egg. They weren't good candidates because they couldn't stimulate a low egg reserve. But also with egg reserve, be sure it's from the antral follicle count and also the AMH level. And there are some huge factors with the AMH that can skew it as well. There was a lot there, wasn't there? Sorry. We have to play this back on the channel slowly on that one. But just drop me a line if you want to chat about it.
I think that was really helpful. Thanks, Kat, for that answer. So another question, Shauna, she wonders how long term and the like low key stress could affect the fertility. We know a lot of us going through some low key stress in the daily life and here and there, but it's lasting for long. So how much long term is this gonna affect the fertility, or is that really serious, or not that much?
I have worked with couples who, and you can see this specifically with male who had a sperm count test done, and his results were really low and really quite poor in terms of motility, huge levels of stress, did lots of work on his stress, and 3 months later that sperm count was up and the motility had improved because of the effects of the oxidative stress that we then try to counter. So antioxidants, your diet is really, really important for helping the body to repair. Stress causes inflammation, which is going to affect your fertility as well. So reducing your stress, and not just by relaxing, but using these techniques to try and identify those thoughts. And actually, it's okay. I often say to my clients, we're going to get to the point, and I don't know if you're in the US, if this is a book that you read as a child or have seen, but my kids love the book, The Tiger Who Came to Tea. And that's what I always think about with the tigers. We're going to invite them for tea. We're not going to get rid of them. It's like saying hello. Oh, hello, sadness. Take a seat. I'm not going to give you the effort and the power it takes to push you away. It's here, and we can deal with that. So there are lots of different ways that you can manage your stress, or the effects of stress as well.
Got it. It was really helpful. Thanks for that. So another question. So about about our stress. We know while we're trying to get pregnant, we have multiple things to worry about. So one thing is like miscarriage. Because especially when you're older and your chance to get miscarriage is more. So, but if we worry about that more, it's even harder to get pregnant. So, is there any suggestion for our audience about how to handle this?
It's so different for lots of different people. The biggest thing I see, and this is really, really important, so you can use your Mira and you can track when you're ovulating. Then what's really important is the length of time from ovulation to the end of your cycle. If the luteal phase is less than 10 days, then that is going to be insufficient to support a pregnancy. If that luteal phase is short, it really, really affects the ability to support a pregnancy. So miscarriage can happen because there are defects with the egg and the sperm or the embryo when they get together. And that we can look at in lots of different ways. But the stress about miscarriage is, again, you can't push it away. You can't, it's the pushing that is the effort, it's the stress about the stress. So, okay, I'm worried about this. And then what is your support system for that? Because telling yourself it's all going to be okay when you don't believe it isn't helpful. And other people telling you not to worry and it's all going to be okay isn't helpful. So accepting your worry is a huge, huge step. If we can stop the worry about the worry, that is really big. And the reason I mentioned the luteal phase is what I see with people is when we start to reduce that stress, and we start to gain balance, and I work with some acupressure work for points to increase progesterone. When we start to get that cycle lengthens. And when you see that lengthen, it fills you with a sense of understanding of what's going on. And that's really key. It's understanding it. It's the mystery of it all. It's not so much a mystery when you know what it is. And this is a talk that you should have been given at school. So the talk you're given at school, which is, it's really, really easy to get pregnant and you must do everything in your power not to get pregnant because it will ruin your life. I mean, that's the message that I took home, and that's the message that a lot of people take home. That's the information you should be given in school, and understanding that cycle and what that means, really.
Got it. So maybe we can talk a little bit about nutrition as well. We have a couple questions here. So one question is like, can poor diet cause poor egg quality and then cause infertility? So maybe we can discuss a little bit about, in general, what is the diet suggestions and that will help with our fertility and what we should be eating and what we shouldn't be eating.
Sure. Again, if you drop me a line, I can share the supplement program I share. I'm not a nutritionist, but I work closely with a nutritional health company and I use their information for that. What is really key is that when you are stressed, your vitamin Bs are depleted, and vitamin Bs are hugely important for progesterone and hugely important for fertility itself. So when you are stressed, your Bs are depleted, and Bs are very, very depleted in our diet anyway. We get B12 from meat. Now, historically, that's because they eat the dirt from the grass, and that's where the B12 is, and that's how it gets in their body. But that's massively depleted in cows, and they're being given synthetic vitamin B12 now to boost that in. So B12 is important. All of the Bs are important, especially for progesterone. Vitamin C is massively depleted and hugely important. Vitamin D. Now, everybody in Northern Europe right now, unless they are taking a vitamin D supplement, is vitamin D deficient. I will wear that. It's so important. Vitamin D and AMH is a really, really significant factor. But I have a client with PCOS that I've worked with for a long time, and I kept saying to her, just let's look at your vitamin D. Let's get your vitamin D tested. And she said, no, I'm sure it's fine. I'm sure it's fine. I'm sure it's fine. I'm sure it's fine. She got pregnant recently, and 3 months before that, she had a vitamin D tested and started taking vitamin D supplements. And I do not think that is a coincidence. It is huge, but it's a fat-soluble vitamin, so it's important you take it with fat. Otherwise, your body can't metabolize it. And also, when you look at supplements, really important that they are bioavailable, that the body can take them up. This is really important with folic acid. Don't take folic acid unless it is methylated folate. So folic acid as methylated folate, because some people can't convert folic acid to folate, and that affects fertility. It's not just about birth defects, that affects fertility. But as a diet, what I would say is, don't think I'm not allowed this or this is bad food. Think of adding more good food in. Healthy fats, omega-3 is so important. Healthy fats, oily fish, or a supplement, and a supplement. Your antioxidants, your vitamin C's, your vitamin D's, your brightly coloured things are really important. And try as much as you can to start to reduce inflammatory foods, because there's inflammation in the body, then it's not going to be working well. And so things like biscuits, bread, cakes, with processed foods, they're not bad. See them as treats, little every so often. Not everyday food, someday food. That's what I try and teach my kids. Doesn't always work, but yeah, it's huge. I can't cover it all in this time, but it is really important. And also, if you've been on the contraceptive pill for a long time, that massively depletes your vitamin B, hugely. So there's a real need to recover from that as well.
Great. So how about for men? Is there any supplements or diet suggestion for men?
Sorry, but yes, well, you need a good foundation formula. You need a good vitamin and mineral that's bioavailable. Look at some antioxidant support. So I use a company called Cytoplan, who are in the UK, but they do ship to other places, but obviously there are other companies, and I offer a discount with that. With the there's one called Cyto Renew, so it supports cell development and health with the high antioxidant, but also got some key amino acids in, L-carnitine and L-arginine, that supports the sperm production and protects. Because that sperm, of course, and there's another thing to think about, is the sperm gets damaged by the acidity in the vagina, but it's a good cervical mucus that coats the sperm. Not only does it help the sperm in, it gives it like a magic coat. It gives it a shield and a protection so that it can take its perilous journey. So it's really, really important from a female point of view that your cervical mucus is good. Now, when I say good, I mean it's there. So are you hydrated? You know, and antihistamines massively affect cervical mucus. That's something to think of as well. So it's not egg and sperm. It's so complex. I could talk for hours, but we all have places to be, I'm sure.
Great. Thank you so much, Kat, for your awesome answers. And I found, myself even learned a lot from this conversation. So I saw a couple more questions for Mira, so I'd like to address them here. So one question is about, there's an Android. So I ordered Mira a while ago, but we're still waiting for the Android app. So when is that going to be released? So Mira is actually updating the app right now. So the iOS was already done last month, and we're still working on the Android, but it will be done within this month for sure. So most likely it will be like between 1 week to 2 weeks. So you could use your new Mira with the new app. So when I mentioned about the new, that means the one that will work with estrogen. Okay, so we want to make sure your hormone, your both LH and estrogen hormone will be displayed correctly. Analysis will go well on the new app. So that's why we're taking a little bit of time to work on the Android. We apologize for the delay, but we should release that to you really soon. So another question about the Mira is that someone said, I upgrade the app and it doesn't work, or I have certain questions about my hormone. So please feel free to send those to support@miracare.com. That's our customer service email. They usually get back to you on every single answer. So that's our requirement in the company, because we really, at Mira, we really want to help you to during your fertility journey. We're not trying to sell you a device or something, but we like to really provide you the solution to give you the answers. And we do understand our hormones can be tricky because everyone's different. There's no certain set of formula to say, oh, above this level, my body must be doing this. So sometimes there are confusions, there are questions. So please feel free to reach out to our support team, and they will analyze your situation case by case. Okay, so another question about Mira is the someone wonders, like, can we eventually use Mira after pregnancy for some other purposes, and can we expand to this, and how will this be helpful? So the answer is yes. So for Mira, the goal actually within next year, within 2021, our goal is really to get Mira to be a true platform for you, because as we talked earlier during my slide with multiple hormone curves, you see that all hormones work together to help our body. So it's not just a single hormone, it's not just like one day testing that will give you most likely misleading answers to your own body, to your health, and then the wrong action, right? So we're expanding into progesterone HCG for next year, so that will track miscarriage for the first trimester, because your HCG hormone is supposed to double every 48 hours during the first trimester up to like the 10th week or 11th week. And if your HCG hormone is not going to that trajectory, it's too low, usually that's a sign for miscarriage, where the fetus has stopped growing. If that's too high, that might be another problem, or some twins or so on. So anyway, we like to know about those things. So with multiple hormones, really Mira trying to not only track your ovulation, not just trying to conceive, but also trying to avoid pregnancy, track pregnancy itself, and other problems like PCOS, right? So that's a ratio between FSH and LH used as an indicator to diagnose PCOS, and also maybe menopause later, ovarian reserve later, and certain other problems as well. So we believe on this market, there's really a lack of consumer product that can empower us to know what's going on, right? So we only have those few numbers of hormones, but we need to have a tool so we can see them, we can understand them correctly. So there are many implementations we could do, and then as a woman, I think we will have much better control of our own body, own health, and eventually you can make better life decisions. For example, when to have kids, right? Not wait for too late, but not too early if you have some other priorities like your lifestyle or like your career development or so on. So that should come out soon. Okay, great. So just to clarify, last thing, I saw one last question about the Android phone. So Mira, so the old Mira, so the LH test one is working with both the Android and iOS. And for the estrogen, which is a new app, and we are working with it's working with the iOS already, but the Android will be released in 1 to 2 weeks. So just hang there. We really appreciate your patience. Okay. Great. So I saw our team has uploaded some handout into this session. If you're going to the right-hand side, should be right-hand side. It's right-hand side for me. On the screen, there's a handout over there, so you can download today's slides. Hopefully that will be helpful to you. Okay, so now is the time to announce our giveaway winner. So who will receive a 30% off gift card on the Mira website. You can use it to purchase any product. Either you are new to Mira, you want to purchase a starter kit, or you want to purchase your refill test ones. They will both work. So Valerie from my team, can you please, oh, there you go. All right, congratulations to Aparna. You got this gift today, so super excited. Congratulations. We will send that to you in the email. We'll send the code into your email to you. And we also got a little bit thing for everyone here. So everyone who joined this webinar today, you guys got a 15% off coupon for Mira. You can use it on the Mira Plus kit, which Plus means estrogen and LH. That's the newest product. That's the only product that can track both hormone for you on the market, on the number, right? Numerical hormone concentration. That's the only product you can find on the market. Or if you buy 2 boxes of Mira Plus ones, that's 40 ones that can last you for like 2 to 3 months. So you can use them either way. And the code is Fertility Rewire. Great. So we also have another perk for you from Kat. Maybe Kat, you can describe this by yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. So any of you on the webinar, you can get 20% off all one-to-one coaching sessions and packages with me if you use the code MIRA20. obviously the call is free. I'll have a short call with you if you've got any questions, and I can either point you in the right direction or we can discuss options for working with me as well. So yeah, that's what that is. And Fertility Rewire, we've said it a few times, that's the podcast, that's the website. So if you've got any questions, you can get me via either of those.
Great. Just remember Fertility Rewire. That's also the discount code for the Mira product for 15% off. Great. So before we go, I like to have a couple final posts because we like to know how we have done and how can we do this even better to help you in the future sessions. So just as the last time, please, please help us to fill this survey. It should be on your screen already. Okay, thanks so much. And we have one more question for you on the screen. Great, thanks so much. We're so glad to share. We have 96% of the audience here would like to watch another webinar from Mira and or recommend it to the friends. So we're really glad that we are able to help you to address any of your concerns or help needed from Mira from the webinar. You can also go to our Instagram and go to which is Mira Fertility, or go to our website. We have tons of blogs and we constantly update them, and many of them are written by fertility experts as well. So hopefully those contents will be helpful to us going through this journey and know better about ourselves. So today, I really appreciate everyone's participation. Thanks for your question, especially thank Kat to share the wonderful experience and the suggestions about stress. I believe those are super useful to even to me and to all our audience.
Brilliant.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
See you guys next time.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye.
Bye.